This video will be going over how to multiply decimals by other decimals, specifically using the lattice method. Now I've pre-drawn my lattice grid. There are other videos on this account which will help you to actually draw the lattice method. If you can't find one of my videos, then there are lots from YouTube that you can use. You may notice also this is slightly drawn differently to what you're used to. There's ever so slight variance of this kind of drawing. Now the first thing I'm going to do is actually put my numbers in. So I'm going to put my 4.5 and 2.3. Now for the moment the decimal points are actually just there as kind of decoration. They're not actually serving a purpose. They don't change the method. So it is the same method as usual. 5 times 2 is 10. And we put our tens in the top and our units in the bottom. 5 times 3 is 15. 4 times 2 is 8. Now some people will leave that blank. I like to put a 0 in there because I don't have any tens and I just represent that by putting a 0. It is entirely up to you. 4 times 3 is 12. And we do the same method, so we start adding up with these diagonals here. So this first one is 5. The second one is 0 plus 1 plus 2 is 3. 1 plus 8 plus 1 is 10. Now I put my 10 here and put it in a little circle. Some people will put their 10 here. It depends on the method that you've been taught. Either way is absolutely fine as long as you remember that it has to come into the next diagonal. So I then have 0 plus 1, which is 1. So the answer to my question that I have without the decimal places at the moment would be 1035. When I am then putting the decimals back in, what you do is you put your fingers on each of the decimal points and then you bring them together until they meet, and then you travel down the line that they meet at. So let me show you that with a pen. So I have this decimal point and this decimal point, and I am putting my fingers on and moving until they meet, and then it travels down this line here. So my decimal point is now here, making my answer 10.35. Okay, so this time we have 0.7 times 4.3. So I am going to include my 0.7. You could just leave it as a 7 and deal with it as a 1-digit number multiplied by a 2-digit number. It is entirely up to you. Both methods will get you the same answer. But I've decided to keep my 0 so that I can keep my decimal point where I need it to. I then do the last method as usual. So 7 times 4 is 28. 7 times 3 is 21. Obviously over here, 0 times 4 is going to be 0. 0 times 3 is going to be 0. I then add up my diagonals. So starting here, 1 here, 8 plus 2 is 10. 2 plus nothing plus 1 is 3, and then 0 here. Now using the same method as before, my decimal points meet up here. They travel down this line and ends up here. So reading this number now, it would be, grab your cup, 3.01. Now, because we're functionally kind of rounding this number, we know that we don't need to include this 0. It doesn't actually serve a purpose. So when I am writing my actual answer to 0.7 times 4.3, I'm going to put 3.01. Okay, so our third and final question is 4.56 times 1.3. Now obviously I've drawn my lattice again, and because it's a 3-digit number, it's going to go 4.56, 1.3. 3. 6 times 1 is 6, 6 times 3 is 18, 5 times 1 is 5, 5 times 3 is 15, 4 times 1 is 4, 4 times 3 is 12, and then we add our diagonals starting here in this corner, 8, 12, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 5, 0. And then we put our fingers on the decimal points and we move them until they join, and then they travel down that line. So our decimal point actually ends up here. If I show you, so our decimal point is here and here. They both travel and meet here. They then travel down this line. Our decimal point ends up there. Again, we have 0.5928. When we are writing our actual answer, it's going to be 5.928.